Mic check 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? Someone in the chat, let me know if you can hear me. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Fantastic. We will be starting soon. Guys, I'll just warn you, I do not have my normal setup. I'm in a hotel and I did not bring any of my mic. I did not bring any my mic or anything. So we're going to be taking it one step at a time here. All right, you know what? I think it's time to roll, people. I think it's time to roll. Let's do it. You guys ready? I'm ready. Let's freaking do this. The Stormcat 5, baby. I'm in a hotel, but you know what? I'm so dedicated to you guys. I said I'm going live no matter what, guys. Hurricane or tropical storm Francine. We got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. Let's get right into it.
Welcome to Outbreak, a new live stream format brought to you by the Stormfront Freaks podcast, hosted by me, meteorologist Brady Harris, also known as Stormcat 5. We'll go live on days of extreme weather with the goal of keeping you safe, informed, and entertained. The only question that remains is, are you ready for the outbreak? The outbreak starts now.
Sorry, my mic was muted. Guys, welcome to Outbreak. This is a special edition. This is Hotel Edition of Outbreak. I am your host, Stormcat 5. I'm meteorologist Brady Harris, and I am live from a hotel somewhere in the country where I'm traveling for work. But guys, the weather does not stop. So I brought my laptop, but I did not bring any of my normal setup. So that's why I don't have my microphone. That's why I sound a little bit different this week. But I think we're still going to do about an hour and a half long stream because, guys, I wanted to give you everything that you guys need to know about what is now Tropical Storm Francine. Welcome to everyone that's in the chat. Welcome to all of our members. I see we got NT as our newest member. Guys, in the description for this show, I put a lot of different links. Guys, one, we've got Stormcat merch that just dropped, so check that out. We also have our Stormfront Freaks Discord that just launched as well. So we've got actually a fair amount of you guys are in there, but check in the chat for the Discord because we got a lot. We just created that, and there's a lot of really great content there. People posting, anything from pet pictures to the latest Storm Prediction Center discussions. All of that we've got automated. Thank you to Only in the 707 for helping us set that up. You are amazing. Also, all of our members that are joining us, thank you guys for sticking with us. Guys, we are going to continue to build this channel. We're going to take this channel to the moon, and it's all going to be because of you. But without further ado, guys, I do want to get into Tropical Storm Francine because the 5 o'clock advisory did come out. First of all, though, I do want to cover what Francine is looking like because today has been a very interesting day. Where at the beginning, yesterday it looked like this thing was starting to take off, but now today, but then it started with some dry air, right? So Francine was really struggling with dry air for about the past 24 hours, and strengthened maybe about 15 miles an hour in terms of the sustained winds. The pressure has been steadily dropping right now, guys. Look at the bottom of the screen for the latest pressure, 987 millibars, but the things still look pretty ragged, but just in the last several frames here, you see the kind of the hot towers at the center. And bear with me here. I'm gonna draw this. I just have I'm looking on like another monitor because literally I'm using like the hotel monitor right now. But and it's a huge TV that's really hard to use. But look in the center, right in the center there. Whoops, there's that line. Right in the center there. See that white? That's a hot that is a really tall thunderstorm that's developing at the center of Francine, and oftentimes when you see that is a sign of strengthening. Now we've seen that throughout the day. We've seen some the circulation really get itself together, and we have seen some really tall thunderstorms at the center of this thing, but then it's kind of fizzled out because the dry air kept winning. I think we're starting to see the eye really kind of wrap up, and that dry air is decreasing a little bit. And the system is looking a little bit more organized. So we could be looking at a period of strengthening, where the National Hurricane Center is still projecting this thing to be a strong Category 1 hurricane, or possibly a Category 2. I think both are in play at this particular moment. Let's take a look at the latest advisory, guys. So this is on the National Hurricane Center site. And, if you're looking how to get here, guys, if you're on the homepage of the National Hurricane Center, here's where I'm going to get the latest information about about Tropical Storm Francine. Really, any tropical system that we have is the Hurricane Center site. They've got a lot of great information. Every storm that they put out, they've got this is really the best of the best in terms of your information about this particular storm. So every 3 hours they put out this update, guys, and where I look is right in here. I'm looking the max sustained winds still 65 miles an hour, so still a tropical storm. That really hasn't changed much throughout the day. The present movement of this thing is actually picked up speed from the last time I looked at this, moving northeast at about 10 miles an hour. So it's starting to move a little bit faster towards that Louisiana coastline, which is where this thing is going to end up most likely. We have seen a dramatic shift to the east in the models today. We'll look at that a little bit later in the show because that is a very interesting development. And oftentimes, guys, it's called the windshield wiper effect. That is expected. Now, the other thing that has been consistently dropping. Now, we have not experienced any rapid intensification yet, right, guys? Rapid intensification is when this thing drops where the pressure is just, the bottom is falling out. That is not happening right now. We've had a very slow but steady strengthening trend today. And right now the pressure is at 987 millibars, which is pretty consistent with the strong tropical storm, which is what we have right now. Let me take this off because I can't even see the chat right now. These glasses apparently are tinted, and I can't see my laptop when I have them on. So I'm going to take those off for just a little bit. So that's what we have in terms of the latest on Tropical Storm Francine. This is what it looks like currently. Like I said, right at the center of this thing is really starting to bubble up. Now, here's the latest cone, right, guys? And the interesting thing is this has been being budged to the east all day yesterday and all day today. The models really, at this point, guys, I just expect these massive shifts close to landfall. Because I feel like we've seen it time and time and time again. We're seeing it yet again. And now, guys, we're looking at, New Orleans is under is at play here, right? For at least, I mean, they're definitely going to see the dirty side of the storm, and the center is going to come dangerously close. If we zoom in on the latest cone here, just to show you guys, we've got hurricane warnings basically along the entire southern coast of Louisiana. So everyone from, and I put out a tweet earlier, but there's a lot of, I think the further east this go, guys, the higher the population, right? I think in western Louisiana along the coast isn't as populated. The further east you go in Louisiana, the higher the population. So it's not been a good sign today looking as this cone has shifted to the east. Now, the interesting thing is, guys, and the reason why I'm going live today is because this thing's going to make landfall sometime tomorrow afternoon, right? So Wednesday afternoon, anywhere from about 1 p.m. to about 5 p.m. I am not going to be able to go live at that particular moment. So I wanted to go live now to give you guys the latest information. I mean, we're nearing the peak of this, in the next 24 hours is going to be the peak strength of this particular system. Because as it gets close to the coast, it's actually going to run into some wind shear. And that could, that thankfully, that is what's kind of, the dry air, first of all. And then as this thing moves towards the coast of Louisiana, it's going to encounter some wind shear, which should limit it from dramatically strengthening into like a category 3, 4, or 5 system. So that's the latest cone as of 5 p.m. today. We also have in far eastern Texas, we also have tropical storm warnings. Guys, the red, once again, red is hurricane warnings. Blue is tropical storm warnings. Purple, which right kind of around the kind of the eastern Louisiana, that is actually your hurricane watches. And give me 1 second here. I forgot to text one of my friends. Guys, let me know in the chat, where are you guys at? What are you guys thinking of this particular system? Let me just text someone the live link for this because I forgot to text them. Whoops. That is the actual thing. But let me know what you guys think. Where do you guys think this is going to make landfall? That right now, my bet is Morgan City. But I mean, just with how the eastward shift has progressed today, I think this could make landfall even further to the east. Hold on a second. So, guys, thanks for joining me again tonight, guys. This is going to be a relatively short stream. We're going to do this for about an hour, and then I actually have to leave. But I want to cover everything and anything you guys need to know about this particular system. And so, right now, this is the projected path of Francine. And guys, it just came out of nowhere. I mean, this storm itself, it just, if you guys remember, there was about a week and a half ago, there was a lot of hype around this same disturbance. Everyone was, some of the models showed it exploding as it got into the Caribbean, and then it just, nothing. And then all the chatter started about the hurricane season and how it's a bust and how everything's falling apart. And then there was a lot of tweets around the why hurricane season really isn't materializing. A lot of those were true, but then this system, I'm telling you, like moved, into the southern Gulf of Mexico, and magic can happen down there, guys. And that's exactly what happened with this particular system. It used the warm waters down in the Gulf of Mexico, and now we're looking at a possible hurricane by landfall. In terms of intensity, because this is the path of this particular thing. Let's look at the intensity forecast, because yesterday I think we anything was at play, right? Because of the potential of rapid intensification. And including myself, a lot of us were calling for a category 2+, right? So that just means intensity forecasts are tough, guys. So the sky was the limit. Today, since that rapid intensification did not happen last night, right? That dry air really got into this particular system and prevented it from strengthening significantly, which is a great sign for the coast of Louisiana. That we still, guys, most of the models actually still have this getting to a category 1 hurricane. I think a category 2 is possible. I don't think a category 2 is the most likely. I think a strong tropical storm or a category 1 is the most likely outcome for this particular system. Now, having said that, guys, that does not mean the impacts are going to be light by any means. I mean, some of these storm surge numbers, guys, are 5 to 10 feet above normally dry ground. If you are in that, that is unlivable, that is unsurvivable. And most of those numbers are going to be the center and the right side of that storm. So really, the landfall is going to be crucial for this particular system as we go throughout the next several days. Princess Leia is checking in. She said, "Hi, I'm worried for friends in NOLA in southern Louisiana. I was there 10 years, and many areas are still struggling down there." Yeah, we're going to take an in-depth look at that area for sure, to be able to look at what the impacts are going to be for that area. And guys, too, in the chat, if you guys are down near Louisiana, if you're in Texas, if you're in Georgia, let me know in the chat if you guys have any questions. My goal for this stream is I want to give you guys the basic information, but I also want to interact and let you know, so if you do any questions like Princess Leia, also guys, check out Princess Leia's picture here. That is a cat. That is literally a cat version of Princess Leia. So wow. Right on brand there from Princess Leia. Amazing work, guys. I also want to highlight NT is a new member. Guys, if you do want to become a member of the Stormfront Freaks, check the link in the chat. There's a lot, on top of, if you are a member, guys, go ahead and spam some of your favorite emotes. If you want to become a member, click that link in the chat. But we've got a lot of benefits like, emotes and other things that you can get in on if you become a member. Got a lot of great plans for the future for our members, including personalized forecasts and other things in the future. So the other thing I want to show you guys is here are the latest spaghetti models. So we look at these to basically find out where is the center of this particular system going to hit. And it right now, if these models would be correct, the landfalling location, which, guys, the impacts of this particular storm are well outside of the landfalling location. But the landfalling location would be somewhere between, it'd probably be to the east of Lake Charles. But Lafayette, Morgan City is probably the most likely landfalling location in Louisiana, with the impacts of this being felt in New Orleans, Baton Rouge. All of you guys are going to feel the impacts of this anywhere along the coast, basically from Lake Charles, which is a little bit inland, to Morgan City to New Orleans. You guys are going to feel the worst impacts of this particular system. So that's where the models have this going. Yesterday, guys, the models had this making landfall Lake Charles to the west of Lake Charles, maybe in Beaumont. Today, that is not the case. They have shifted 50 miles plus to the east, which is good news for Houston and the western portions of Louisiana, the eastern portions of Louisiana, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans. That has not been a good trend for you guys today. But the good news is we have not had any rapid strengthening just yet. So Mary asked category 2. So Mary, that is a possibility. I don't think that is the most likely possibility at this point. I think if we were dealing with Hurricane Francine at this point, then I would say, yeah, a category 2 is probably the most likely scenario. At this point, though, Francine is still a tropical storm. We expected this thing to be a hurricane today. It is not. It has struggled with dry air all day, and tomorrow it's going to struggle with some wind shear as it moves close to the coast. So, I think this Francine has been strengthening, but it has been strengthening very slowly. And Cat 1 is definitely more likely. That is right, only in 7 of 7. There's our friendly duck checking in, and he is right on the money there. So that is our latest spaghetti models, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at it on radar, because actually before we do that, I do want to cover the storm surge, because this is a very important piece of this, and I actually think we could get even higher numbers off to the east. But so this is our storm surge forecast. This is our reasonably worst case scenario here of 5 to 10 feet, guys. The red is 5 to 10 feet. We've got values of 2 to 4 feet near Sabine Pass. Cameron is 3 to 5 feet. Rockefeller, from Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge all the way to Port Fortune, which there's a lot of there's some towns along here as well, but there's also a lot of uninhabited areas. But guys, that's 5 to 10 feet. That is 5 to 10 feet above normally dry ground. Guys, I'm 6'4", right? I'm a tall dude. That is well over my head. I'd be, I'm a decent swimmer, but I don't think I'd be able to, 10 feet of water that's moving like that, I'd be toast. So this is unsurvivable if you are in these areas. Guys, we're only talking about a Category 1 hurricane. So 5 to 10 feet with this kind of system, imagine if this were Category 3, 4, 5. So we still need to take this thing very seriously. And if you are in any of these regions, if you do get an evacuation order, leave. Do not wait, because it's unsurvivable in terms of how you're not going to be able to survive 10 feet of water in your house. You're just not. I don't care if you have a second floor. You need to evacuate if you're being told so. If you have an optional evacuation order, you can. You don't have to. I would recommend, I always recommend, if you're near the coast and some of this, get away from the coast, because this kind of these storm surge values are pretty significant. And then off to the east, near the New Orleans area, we're expecting around anywhere from 2 to 4 to 4 to 7 feet, depending on where you are. Really anywhere along the coast of Louisiana, you're going to get some sort of storm surge. So you need to be ready. If you live near the coast, if you live in a flood-prone area, you need to know that there's going to be a good amount of rain, but the storm surge is really the thing that kills in hurricanes. It's not the wind. So just because the wind's going to be 80, 90 miles an hour, and you're like, that isn't bad. Think back to Katrina, which was much stronger. The water is what kills the most people in these things. And we're expecting a lot of water to come on shore with this thing. So Lafayette to Morgan City, even to New Orleans, we're expecting some pretty significant storm surge values here, pushing 3 to 5 to 4 to 7 feet. So that is the kind of the basic information about this system. That is the latest thinking we have on this tropical storm, guys. This, once again, Tropical Storm Francine. This is still a tropical storm. Logan says never seen Brady without his sunglasses. Yeah, I'm all biz today, Logan. Okay, I'm all biz, and I can't wear them right now because I literally can't see when I put them on. So, but let's take a look at the radar. I want to show you guys the radar. I also want to bring in Agent Dan, because I realized, sorry, Agent Dan, I did not. Oh, and I need to log in. Yikes. All right, well, let me log into the radar. And while I do that, I'm going to bring in Agent Dan. So Dan is with us here. Dan is joining us from lovely Texas. That's right, Dan? You're in Texas right now?
Yeah, I'm in Dallas.
Fantastic. Well, how is it? How's Dallas today?
It's sunny and not as hot as it's been. So how's it in Ohio?
I am actually not in Ohio right now. I am in Pennsylvania at a hotel. So real quick, do you just want to give the people your thoughts on this tropical storm while I pull my radar up and have to log in?
Absolutely. And you hit exactly what I was looking for just now with the storm surge. I mean, it is going to be life-threatening. That's the language that the National Hurricane Center is using. And I was going to also mention that, it doesn't matter how tall you are. There's no one that's 10 feet tall or 11 feet. I think that
now, there's someone that's close, though. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, though.
But so, yeah, you gotta leave if you're given those options. And it just makes sense to relocate and then, come back and, come back with everyone when they come back. So, but and I'm also looking at the, looks like NCEP Weather Prediction Center has issued an excessive rainfall outlook. So on their day 2 outlook, they're issuing a moderate risk of excessive rainfall. So this is going to be dumping a lot of precipitation in the region, along with the storm surge that's going to be coming on shore. So
yeah, you're right about that, Dan. I think the other component of this is that I'll get into. There's going to be there's going to be a pretty significant tornado threat with this particular storm. So, we are going to need to watch that pretty closely here throughout the next couple of days, because it looks like we are going to get a little bit some dry air on the east side of this thing, especially as it moves on shore. And we saw that with Beryl. Does everyone remember Beryl and how the tornadoes were off the charts? I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but I'm seeing some of the same signs in terms of the dry air that's going to be on the east side of this thing, which actually could cause less convection, which actually could cause more tornadoes because the storms are more isolated. We are going to need to watch that very closely because if we have another, if we have even a 50% version of barrel here, that is going to be a big time problem in terms of the day after and the day after that. Is we could be looking at a couple of days of tornadic outbreaks Wednesday, Thursday, and even Friday. We already have a slight risk out for that. So I'm going to pull that up in just a second. In the meantime, while I am pulling up my radar, which is just not wanting to pull up, I am going to pull up the SPC and also show you guys that. Guys, let me know in the chat what you guys are experiencing, where you guys are, what questions you guys have in terms of the and I'm just going to nix this in terms of what are you guys wondering about this particular storm? What are you guys wondering about Francine? We got EM chat checking in. We got Mama G checking in. Only in the 707 it says barrels off the chain. It was. You were right about that as well. We got Nada Enjoyer checking in the chat as well. Guys, welcome to everyone in the chat. If you are watching on Twitter, I do encourage you, head on over to YouTube. YouTube is going to be our best experience as we, as essentially we're, you won't be able to interact with the chat if you're on Twitter. So if you are watching us on Twitter, thank you for watching. Thank you for checking in. But head on over to YouTube if you do want to ask questions, because that is where I'm going to be taking questions and everything in between. So, we got Margie checking in as well. Me and Stormcat Zero checking in. We got NT as well checking in. All right, let me and Dan, I'm just going to quickly go to check out the Storm Prediction Center, and then maybe you could just talk about some of the risks that you see with this system as I try to get my radar to work, because Radar Omega is just absolutely not working right now. So this is the Storm Prediction Center. This is the day 2 outlook, right? So we already have a slight risk. This is in New Orleans. This is in Mobile, Alabama, and this is in southern Mississippi, right? So the east side of this thing is always what gets the tornadoes, right? And so if the storm makes landfall near Morgan City, then on the east side of that, we're going to have our tornadic risk. So anywhere from New Orleans to Mobile, Alabama to southern Mississippi is the best risk for tornadoes at the time. And we already have a 5% risk, guys. We already have a 5% risk of tornadoes. That could be up to even further tomorrow. We still have to wait and see. But day 2, 5% risk this time of year is very rare, right? We don't typically get this kind of risk. Usually it's only associated with tropical systems like Francine. And if you read the description, it directly mentions Francine as being the primary cause of this. So we are expecting tornadoes along with. I know no one wants to hear that, right? I mean, you're probably like, come on, right? Can't we catch a break? We're already dealing with flooding and rain. I don't want to deal with tornadoes as well. Unfortunately, that's always comes along with these tropical systems on mainly the east side and the northeast side is where you typically have the greatest tornadic potential, and that's definitely going to be the case tomorrow. And if we look at day 3 as well, and I think this is actually my first time seeing this, day 3 we only have a marginal risk at this particular point, right? But that is going to be a tornadic threat, right? I would expect them probably to upgrade this to a slight risk. Day 3 they tend to be pretty. They tend to not be overly aggressive in the day 3 outlooks. Unless they're really, unless it's like a slam dunk in terms of events. So I would expect this probably to be upgraded in the next day or two to at least a slight risk. But that is, and Mr. Storm says we may see an upgrade to enhanced risk. Yeah, I would not be surprised, Mr. Storm. I would not be surprised if Wednesday and Thursday are pretty significant storm chasing days in Dixie Alley. I know we've got a good amount of storm chasers that follow us here as well. So I know Vince is going to be on that probably as well, covering all that. So guys, make sure if you're watching me now, make sure you do check out Vince Welty. I know he's going to be all over this thing. He's been all day just setting up cameras left and right to cover this particular storm. So he's going to have great coverage of Francine. Make sure you check him out. A lot of you guys know who Vince Welty is, but make sure you guys check him out because he's going to have a lot of really great coverage with this particular storm. And unfortunately, tomorrow I won't be able to cover this. I may go live Thursday if the tornado threat is increasing, but I wanted to go live today to give you guys all the information that you need to know about this particular system. Now, I do want to pull up Dan too, and maybe you can talk about this. Let's talk about, I'm going to pull up the Weather Prediction Center, and we are going to talk about the rainfall threats that you brought up. So I'm actually just going to, do you want to quickly just talk about the rainfall expected with this system?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an immense amount of rainfall that's going to be coming in. I'll actually let you speak more to it. So you've got the products already up and everything.
Oh, well, yeah. I was trying to key you up because I was trying to recover my password. But I think someone may have stolen my password to Radar Omega because it's not working anymore.
Who would do that?
I know. I don't. Maybe it's because I have a bad habit of showing my passwords live on stream. So
your credit card numbers too,
or my credit card number. Actually, okay, hold on. That credit card, an update there. I literally had someone hack that specific credit card. So really? I had to. I'm not saying it was anyone from this chat. Maybe it was someone that went and rewatched the stream, but I had to cancel that credit card, which was pretty hilarious. But anyway, go ahead and talk about the rain.
Yeah, so there is going to be an immense amount of rain. For them to issue a moderate risk on a day 2, and I'm not speaking of convective outlook. I'm speaking of the rainfall outlook. Moderate risk. That's going to be a lot of rain happening in a short amount of time. Like I said, on top of the storm surge. So this is, I mean, it's definitely not something to play around with. If you've got the opportunity to leave, you definitely should if you're in the region.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Get the radar. Yeah, and to Dan's point, guys. So what we're looking at right now in terms of rain, because this is the other side of this thing, right? Pretty much every tropical system is going to have significant rain. I think the only silver lining with this storm is I don't think we're going to see a situation that we saw earlier in the year with some of the tropical systems where I forget the one that hit South Carolina, but where it stalls, right? That is not going to be the case here. There's going to be a feature that picks this thing up and kind of moves it to the north pretty quickly. Now, having said that the speed is only 10 miles an hour at this particular point. So it's not going to be a fast mover, right? But it's definitely not going to be a super slow mover. But that doesn't matter. It's still going to drop around 8 to 12, possibly 12 to 16 inches of rain across central and southern Louisiana. So that is no joke, and it's going to drop in a very short amount of time. The heaviest rain is going to fall between Lake Charles and New Orleans. I think just to the west of New Orleans, just to the east of Lake Charles, towards the center, if not on the eastern side of this particular system, that's where you're going to get the highest rainfall totals. And so, really everyone in the southeastern state of Louisiana, you're going to get a lot of rain. You're going to get flooding. Flooding is going to be a big concern with this particular system, as well as the storm surge, right? Those are probably the two biggest risks. The wind isn't going to be, it isn't going to be incredibly significant, right? You're probably going to have a hurricane. It's probably going to be around 100 miles an hour, maybe less. But the rain and the storm surge are by far the two biggest risks with this particular system. Once again, if you live on the southern coast of Louisiana, Lake Charles, you're right on the edge of this thing. Anywhere from Lake Charles all the way to New Orleans, right along the coast, and 10 to 20 miles inland, you need to be prepared for a very, very, even though it's a Category 1, do not let that fool you. This is going to be a very impactful system that we're going to have that a lot of people probably didn't realize was going to be a thing, right? Because this kind of came out of nowhere, and is probably going to take a lot of people by surprise. Because I'm telling you, Dan, and we'll bring in Phil as well. We'll bring in. Sorry, I didn't see who's that. We'll bring in Jen as well to talk about this. But and guys, first of all, everyone spam the Jen emotes in the chat. We've got Meteorologist for the Weather Channel, Jen Watson, checking in with the group. Jen, first of all, how are you doing today? And what are your thoughts on Francine?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing great. I'm in my car right now, so I'm so sorry. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh my gosh, yay. So Francine is interesting. I feel like the whole season this year has been very intriguing and difficult to forecast. But Francine, I think you've probably been talking about this, Brady. I'm just joining in. Is the big concern I have is the flood threat and the heavy rain and also the severe weather threat too. I don't like how the center, it looks like New Orleans and, the mouth of the Mississippi is on the right-hand side. So I'm worried about the storm surge there. I know it's not a major hurricane, but still that doesn't matter. There can be major issues. So that's one of the biggest things we're concerned about. I think the calling card for this storm is going to be the heavy rain, the surge, but also the severe weather, the tornadoes. Because I lived in Starkville, Mississippi. I went to Mississippi State. So, yep, go Bulldogs. And then I worked in Tupelo, Mississippi, and then I worked in Huntsville, Alabama. So I'm thinking about, where I used to live, all my friends there, and you just have to be prepared. And we've seen this live on camera where you can get a really quick, brief spin up tornado. And I mean, it happens in a flash, like less than 60 seconds. It'll drop down and then it'll come back up. So you just have to be prepared. And this was something we knew the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it is record warm sea surface temperatures right now in the Gulf of Mexico. So we knew that there was potential for this. It's a little bit of a lopsided system, Brady, probably you've talked about too, where what they're getting right now, some of the convection has been kind of broken off and displaced from the main center. There's obviously convection around the center, but there's a little bit part that's kind of stretched out and farther to the north, and they're getting that cloud cover and stuff right now in that rain. But I think that the big thing with this is you got to focus on the heavy rain. And also, even though the wind might not be as strong as a major hurricane, it doesn't take much to topple over trees. So you got to keep that in mind too. What I like about it, Brady, is that it doesn't seem to be lingering for a long time. It's going to be moving through. So I like that aspect of it. I think we're lucky the fact that there's some drier air, there's some shear. I mean, it could be a much more dangerous situation. I remember Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, and it went from, I think, a Cat 1 to a Cat 5 in 24 hours, like something like that, really, really quickly. So we are very lucky for this, and the fact that there's warm waters, there's other factors working in on this. But yeah, it's a dangerous storm. It doesn't really matter, it's going to be a hurricane. So you got to treat it as the evacuations and everything. And I know we've got a lot of chasers that are going down there too. So it's going to be interesting. We should head down there, Brady. Where are you?
Oh, Jen, I would. I'm in Pennsylvania right now. So I literally didn't bring. Yeah, for work. Yeah, I didn't bring any of my streaming stuff. So that's, I'm just using my AirPods right now. So hopefully I sound okay. But that is Jen, you said it really well, right? And talking about the explosive development yesterday, right? We all kind of thought, even I was talking about rapid intensification and being a possibility. Definitely not, it wasn't, it didn't end up happening, which is a great news. It's great news for Louisiana. And to your point, right? These things can go from 0 to 100 real quick. Quote one of my favorite songs. But thankfully, the dry air has kept it from rapidly intensifying into what could have been a very bad situation. This is still not a good situation, I think. And Jen, maybe you can talk about this a little bit. But this is going to surprise a lot of people, because we went from hurricane season being a complete bust and talking about lemons and other fruit. I tweeted something about lemons, and everyone was talking about lemons and making fun of the hurricane season as this being a complete bust. And now we're looking at just a few days later, the possibility of a Category 1 hurricane making landfall very close to New Orleans. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think people are going to be prepared, or do you think this is going to take people by surprise?
So I think it kind of took people by surprise, because I think, it's the weekend, people are enjoying themselves. They actually maybe come to work on Monday. They start paying closer attention to the news, and they're like, wait, what? We have 48 hours to prepare for a hurricane making landfall. It's one of those things where, and I'm concerned too, especially the low-lying areas and those that need to evacuate, that the hesitation, the fact that it's happening so fast, they may not be able to. But also the concern for the storm surge. Thank God it's not what Katrina was or anything remotely close, because I know that storm surge, there was a lot of attention around New Orleans, but Gulfport, Mississippi, Biloxi, those were places where I went down and actually worked on a new model,
Wow.
a free model when I was in grad school. But the fact that it went in 5 miles, that storm surge went inland 5 miles, where this is not going to be anything like that. And luckily it's not. But like you said, I mean, there are factors in play here that could cause it to, like, blossom with the warm waters. But thankfully we've got the drier air, we've got some shear, we've got some things that are helping us out. But it is kind of, it's hard as a meteorologist. I mean, we're predicting the future, right? And we're looking at aspect that we can. There's a lot that have impacted us, not only with the waves moving off of Africa into the colder waters. We've got warmer air aloft. The MJO wasn't really in our favor, and we're still in a La Nina watch. So there's lots of things that didn't fully play out. The one thing that's in our favor is the warm sea surface temperatures, but you got to have everything together to make that happen. The concern is that everyone's like, all right, well, it's the peak of hurricane season almost, and it's been mediocre, we don't have to worry about anything. But it's when you get, especially those Katrina type situations, where Katrina made landfall in the Florida Peninsula, South Florida, as a Category 1 hurricane, I believe. Then it moved into the Gulf and blew up, and they had such time. So it's one of those things you really have to stay on guard through September and October. I mean, we're just barely about halfway through, and who knows what's going to happen if we get into a full-fledged La Nina, how the MJO pans out and other factors pan out. So we're not even close to being done or over. So people need to be smart. They need to be prepared. And the number one thing is, people never expect it to happen to them. Even I think that way. I feel like that's a little bit of human nature, to just be like, oh, well, I've never experienced before. I'm sure I'm fine. And then you get yourself in a very dangerous situation. I've done that before myself. So the smart thing to do is just get yourself out of harm's way, or get to higher ground, or get to a safer place. Know if you're in a floodplain or not, or if the area where you are has flooded in past hurricanes. And then if it has, you don't even have to evacuate the state or really go too far, but just get to a higher, safer place so you're not in that situation. And get any kind of things that you potentially, if there is flooding that occurs, you want to save, have that with you as well. But we're lucking out, I feel like, Brady, very much so with this. But I don't know. I think all of us meteorologists are just like, so how is the rest of the season going to pan out? And it's just, we're hoping for the best. And I mean, I'm okay with a bust. I mean, I obviously know wants a bust, but I'd rather have a bust and there be nothing happen. I want that kind of thing. I don't want a bust where we forecast nothing and bad things happen.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Yeah, and I think what I'm showing now is, because I want to get really specific here, because we talked about New Orleans, we've talked about Lafayette, we've talked about Morgan City, we've talked about some of the areas, I think, but I wanted to just, because if you are in these areas, right, I think the National Weather Service, this is on the National Hurricane Center site, right? So they have a really good site to basically see, okay, first of all, just because you're not in the cone, guys, the cone are these blue lines, right? The blue lines on the left and the right, on the left and the right part of the screen. Just because you're not in that cone does not mean you're going to not receive impacts, right? You can see New Orleans is right on the edge of that cone, right? The cone, all it tells you is where the center of circulation, where they think it's going to go, right? So it's somewhere between Lafayette and New Orleans. That's with kind of the most likely landfalling location around Morgan City, right? A lot of the models have been showing that today. They've been shifting well east, right? Because yesterday we were talking about Lake Charles. Now we're talking about Morgan City as being the most likely landfalling location. We've got hurricane warnings extending well outside of the cone. Guys, this red line, these are your hurricane warnings. So all the way, along, basically I'm going to do, I know those towns are inland, but from the Lake Charles into the south, all the way Morgan City, including the very kind of, I know these are less populated, but Grand Isle, right, all the way to Grand Isle. But you're in a hurricane warning, so you can see that's well outside of where the cone is. So that just shows you the winds, the impacts from this particular system, and from every hurricane, every tropical storm, they're going to extend well outside of the cone. So just because you're not in that cone, do not get confused and think, oh, I'm fine, right? Because oftentimes there could be very significant storm surge, outside of the cone, right? We saw that with Ian, right? A lot of people got hung up on the cone, and I don't want us to do that, right? So what I want us to do is look at, okay, am I under a hurricane warning? Am I under a storm surge warning, right? Those are the two worst. If you're under those two warnings, that means you're going to get probably the worst of the conditions. And I just want to show you where the hurricane warnings are, which is along the red line, right? Anywhere along that red line. And then we've got, to the east, near New Orleans, and to the east of that, and Gulfport, some of those towns, we've got tropical storm warnings. So we're still expecting tropical storm conditions in those areas. Now, the probably the most impactful part of this, and I'm just going to turn these on for just a second. I know this is going to get a little messy. The storm surge warnings, right? Yeah. That's in pink. And Jen, I don't know if you want to quickly talk about storm surge, but really, I mean, look at all the pink outside of the cone. This storm surge is by far the worst part of tropical systems, and we've got storm surge warnings all the way, to the south of Lake Charles, to the south of Port Arthur, well inland, just to the south of Lafayette, going all the way to the east, even near New Orleans. We've got some storm surge warnings. So we're expecting some pretty significant storm surge up and down the Louisiana coast. And Jen, I don't know if you quickly want to talk through storm surge, why it's so deadly, and even with the Category 1 system, we could get 5 to 10 feet in some areas.
Yeah, no, and storm surge is really dangerous. It's the surge, it's the flooding that catches people off guard. And people don't understand the power of water. It only takes 6 inches of fast moving water to knock you off your feet. I think it's 12 inches to move a car. I mean, it's not much at all, and it can cause damage. Yeah, it's amazing. And so when it comes to storm surge, why I don't like, and any meteorologist does not like, the position of where this is going to make landfall, is that New Orleans and those areas are on the right hand side, right, where you're going to get that push of water, because low pressure systems, which include tropical cyclones, they flow counterclockwise. So the front right quadrant, that's where you have the greatest risk of severe storms, but also you get that extra surge. So not only just the general momentum and forward motion of the storm, but also you're going to get that push too. So I am concerned about it. And this is going to put, basically, since Hurricane Katrina, they've made a lot of investments, millions, maybe even billions of dollars, to make sure the pumps are working accurately, everything is working good. And I know Katrina is basically the benchmark of hurricanes and what people relate other storms to. This is not going to be a Katrina, but there is going to be storm surge, significant in some areas. And seeing those storm surge warnings, it is concerning, it is alarming, and you just need to be careful. If you are at risk at all for there to be any flooding, you need to get out. And I love that you're showing this, because you can see in the red, you've got 5 to 10 feet. We're not talking small amounts. This is over my head, easily over my head, over Brady's
It's
head.
over my head, Jen. It's over my head.
I mean, it is over. Yes, it's over Dan's head. I mean, I know. I love you, Dan. But see, even looking at like 4 to 7 feet, I know it's going to be less around New Orleans and like Pontchartrain, but still, it can cause issues, and it can rain, right? So you've got creeks and streams and rivers that are starting to swell, and then you've got the push of the ocean water itself, the storm surge. So it's a combination of everything that can be, a catastrophe. So you just have to be careful, especially right where you've got the bullseye, that 5 to 10 feet. I mean, that's a lot. That's significant. And so you got to be aware of that. Luckily, this storm is going to be moving fast. So it's not just gradually churning, but still storm surge is something that it can easily move cars. It can easily pour into your home, pour into your businesses, and you don't want to get caught in it. I've watched the documentary on Hurricane Katrina where it's the local news station down there, I think in Biloxi or Gulfport, and people were in their attics. Now that was a really, really high significant storm surge, but nobody could rescue them, right? They got
Yeah.
themselves a very dangerous situation. And so you just want to avoid that as much as possible. Do what you need to do the sandbags if you need to, just evacuate. But the storm surge is significant. 5 to 10 feet isn't anything to just, brush off. And even 3 to 5 feet, that's pretty.
It's a lot.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
like Pontchartrain, New Orleans, like Brady, I'm going to be watching those cameras, the New Orleans
Yeah.
cameras, like the streets, even Gulfport, I'm going to be watching, but even all around Louisiana, just to see what the conditions are and, how everyone is faring. But yeah, this is a significant event, and it's less than 24 hours away now. I mean, we're right at
Yeah.
that mark, 24 hours.
Yeah, it's nuts. And, I think to your point, right? I mean, even in New Orleans, right, 3 to 5 feet, that's going to be, they haven't seen that kind of storm surge in a good while. So
Yeah.
I know they've invested a lot. So it's not, if you're in New Orleans, it's not time to panic. I know there's some folks in here that my mom actually sent our way. So that are in New Orleans, if you are watching, it's not time to panic, right? But just heed any evacuation orders, right? Because your local emergency management, your local National Weather Service, they're going to know best, right?
Yeah.
And so if you get an evacuation order, right, they are very, they're looking at their models and they're saying, hey, there's people in this area that are going to be, their houses might be underwater, right? So we need to get them out. So if you get an evacuation order, take it seriously, even if you're in the yellow, right? Even like 3 to 5 feet, that's no joke. And this is not, we're not talking about, very like clean pool water. We're talking about dirty, disease-ridden, animal-infested waters that's coming in from the ocean and literally picking up sewage, picking up other things. And there's a lot of deaths that actually happen after the hurricane because of infection and animal I mean, anything and everything in between. And that water is not something you want to be in. So if you get an evacuation order, take it seriously. Even New Orleans, we're going to have 3 to 5 feet. That's going to be a problem, especially if you're on the water, near the water. If you're in a low-lying area, you're going to get some flooding. And so please take this seriously just because it's a Category 1. Now, Jen, I do want to talk about, because we've talked a lot about the conditions. Now, I do want to talk about this system has been very interesting. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this back maybe 150 frames, because what we're looking at now is the radar. And this thing has really kind of struggled today. And from your perspective, were you seeing, was it really the dry air the main culprit?
Yeah, well, I think it's a couple of things, but yeah, it really has struggled today, which I think all of us are very happy for. And I love that you're going back, because you can see it's a lot more focused. You saw the center, and as it's moving northward, it's just getting more ragged, and part of it actually got cut off. We were talking about this before. So it's not even a part of the general circulation. It's kind of broken off. What you're getting now across southern Louisiana, the cloud cover, any convection, that's now kind of displaced from it. So it doesn't have, yes, you've got that one core right there, but we've got some dry air and training into it, but some other things, dynamics that are going on there. It looks so much better. I would say 12 hours or more ago. And I think that was the big concern is, all right, it's going to be already a Category 1 hurricane by now, but it's not.
Yeah. Which is insane. I mean, to your point, Jen, look at the beginning of the frame. At the beginning of the frame, that looks like a strengthening storm. Yeah. And then watch what happens as just at the center of this thing, right in there. It's like the core almost evaporates. Right. Yeah. And that dry air just gets sucked in there. And then you can't even really tell if there's an eye feature. I mean, it's like a 50-mile wide eye. But just recently, look kind of at the center of this thing. We had a really tall, strong tower of convection that kind of bubbled up just at the last frame there. So I think it's trying to strengthen again. Now, the interesting thing is, Jen, the pressure has been falling. The pressure has been falling at not a dramatic pace, but at a steady pace throughout the day. We're now at 987 millibars. So this thing is still kind of slowly making its way towards hurricane status.
Yeah, and it's a pinhole eye too. And so I love talking about dry air because any tropical system does not like dry air at all whatsoever. You get any dry air entrainment, and that'll cause things like the appearance on radar. It looks
It's
so
like Chinese food on it's like Chinese food on an airplane, right? They just don't mix, right?
Yeah.
They just don't mix.
They don't mix at all. And even though it's got that warm surface water that's fuel, it's got tons of fuel, the upper level conditions are still critical and still important. And I think that's partly the reason why, Brady, when we were forecasting this season, everyone's like, the sea surface temperatures, like it's going to be insane and crazy. Yes, that is true, but that's only one part of the recipe, right? And so they weren't factoring necessarily, and we were there was the forecast that we were already going to be in La Nina, right? And then the MJO came, the waves are going off farther north, so there's lots of things to factor in. But focusing in on Francine, it is struggling there. I mean, it's maintaining itself, but it's really struggling to strengthen like it potentially could. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 24 hours. But I like to see this because we don't want anything strengthening. Having a rapidly strengthening system making landfall is not what we want at all. And it's going to quickly weaken too, which is great, because I remember I'm trying to think, it was 3 or 4 years ago. It was in 2020. And that's when we had, I think it was Zeta. If anyone is in Atlanta, where I am, there was a hurricane that made landfall. I'm trying to remember if it was in Mississippi or Louisiana, but then the forward speed was so fast, it was still a tropical storm when it hit Atlanta. As crazy
I
as
remember that. Yeah.
And we lost power. I couldn't even be on one of our podcast episodes because I didn't have any power. Yeah. And so looking at this too, I love that you're showing this. So you can see like there are high cloud tops, like it's wanting to strengthen, but you can see also it's just, part of it got displaced earlier and it's kind of spreading out, but now, it's trying to tighten back up again. It really is. So we'll see what it can do over the next 6 to 12 hours. And that's really going to be critical as it continues to move off to the northeast, what it's going to be at landfall, the strength at landfall. I think we will reach category 1 status, but I would be surprised if we got much higher than that. I mean, we're running out of time, and
we are. Yeah.
This is good. I like what we're seeing where it's struggling. We want it to struggle. We want it to completely dissipate if we could. In the movie Twisters, just get all the things and just make it happen. Brady, let's do it.
I'm in. You know what? I would if I wasn't in Pennsylvania, I would go down there right now. But we are.
Brady, chase. We need to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm in. Especially if there's something in Southwest Florida, I'm there. Like I'm there for the entire time. I'm there. We've got a little fortress down there. But I think you bring up some really good points. And what I wanted to do, first of all, I do want to highlight. We got Amy, who's been a member for 3 months. Amy says chicken nuggies. Stormfront Freaks rock. So thank you, Amy, for the love there. And we got Dave B, who also gifted us a Stormfront Freaks membership. So Dave, thank you. And guys, Dave is awesome. Guys, when someone gives a membership, it's actually awesome because it gives someone in the chat a membership. So that's a pretty cool way to kind of give back. All of that, all the memberships and everything that you guys give to this show helps us make this show the best it can be. So thank you guys for all your contributions. Thank you guys for just being here and being a part of this. If you are watching us on Twitter, guys, welcome to the stream. Head on over to YouTube. You'll be able to get in the chat, interact with people. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. We're just happy to have you. Everyone's watching on YouTube, thank you for continuing to support us as we do this. So we're going to wrap up in a little bit, but I did want to, Jen, quickly talk about, because we talked about what is the future of Francine. What are the models showing? Today and yesterday, we've seen a pretty significant shift to the east. Yeah. So let's take a look at the latest hurricane models and what this has. And really, I think that the couple of things that I'm looking for is, one, when is this thing going to make landfall? Where is this thing going to make landfall? And how strong is it going to be at landfall? Jen, I think I agree with you. Category 1 is probably what is the most likely outcome for this particular system. This is one model, and this model actually has this. And look at landfall. that is a very clear sign. That is a ragged system. That is not a system that has its act together. And that still could be a hurricane, but that is not a rapidly intensifying storm as this moves on shore.
And looking on there, though, just on this frame, Brady, you can see like the deep convection over Louisiana. Some places could see 8 to 12 inches or more. And so of rainfall on top of storm surge. So like that's going to be the big concern, is that flooding. I mean, look at that, just band after band of rain pummeling New Orleans, southern Louisiana. Like it's just, and there could be tornadoes. I mean, we're going to see numerous tornado warnings too. So that's what I'm concerned about. But yeah, I agree. It's ragged. It's going to really struggle to get there to Category 1 hurricane, I think.
Yeah, and let's just look at the pressure this model has. This has it about 900, and this has it peaking out around 969 millibars, which is a Category 1, maybe a high-end Category 1, maybe a low-end Category 2. But I still think the most likely scenario is Category 1. But to your point, Jen, I mean, this is a really good point here, right? And this just shows you. So the cone shows you a cone. That's it, right? I always hear about the cone, I always think about the cone on the dog's head, right? The dog can only see, he can't see to the left and right, but there's still like people, there's still wall, there's still like the world is outside of that, right? So that's a really good way to think about the cone. Just because you're not in the cone doesn't mean that life doesn't exist outside of that particular cone, right? So that's the same thing with this hurricane. Or this tropical storm that is not a hurricane yet, but well outside of the cone, you're going to have significant, heavy rainfall for hours and hours and hours, along with some storm surge, along with some wind, and along with a tornado threat. So actually, I mean, folks in New Orleans, you're going to be on the dirty side of this thing, and you could get from starting early Wednesday. Right, early Wednesday, you're going to be getting in the outer bands of this particular storm, and then you're going to be on and off significantly heavy rainfall all day, and the rain isn't going to let up probably until about Thursday or Wednesday overnight, and so that's a pretty significant risk there.
It is a significant risk, and so I know that the HBC has highlighted that for the risk for potential for flooding. We also have obviously the severe weather threat, but yeah, that, and if you watch that in motion across southern Mississippi, you've got Hattiesburg, you've got Meridian, you've got then Starkville, Columbus, Tupelo, you got Jackson, Mississippi, you've got so many other places. There's lots of tall pine trees too. So I'm worried about across southern Mississippi. So I'm worried about some of those southern communities where you're going to have the heavy rain, the wind, we could see trees falling. But along with that, brief spin-up tornadoes. And unfortunately, southern Mississippi is no stranger, the entire state, for tornadoes. So it's going to be impacting, yes, there's landfall, but it's already going to be moving into Mississippi, parts of Alabama. I mean, this is going to be a prolonged event. It's not going to be like a brief severe thunderstorm. I mean, it's going to be raining for practically the entire day. So that's a big concern as well. And watching this and thinking about, the landscape of Mississippi, I just am worried about that. If you don't have to drive anywhere tomorrow, don't do it. Stay home. I think that's the smartest thing. Hopefully most communities and schools are just doing a digital day, so people aren't out and about in this, because you don't need to be driving in this at all whatsoever. Unless there's some kind of emergency, don't do it. That's a little PSA.
No, I completely agree with you. The kids are probably like, yay, school's out, but it's like, it's because of a hurricane. So it's not going to be a party here, people. This is going to be a pretty significant event. In Category 1 hurricanes, guys, we've seen this in the past. The good news about this is not going to stall, right? Because watch as some hurricanes that we've seen, Harvey among others, have stalled over the same location and just continue to dump a significant amount of rainfall. But look, Francine is like, all right, I'm out of here. And then it goes inland. And, something that is not going to be lost is Thursday. We're going to have probably a tornadic outbreak in Alabama and Georgia. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. That might warrant a live stream. But this system, this system does not hang around New Orleans all day, right? All day Wednesday is going to be your day. But Thursday, it scoots on out of there. And by Thursday, during the day, this system is going to be well inland and really, causing havoc in places like Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, where we are going to receive a good amount of rain there. Flooding could be a concern well inland in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, where tornadoes are also going to be a problem on Thursday, even into Friday. So,
yeah, no, and that's one of the big things too. Like living here in Atlanta, I've been thinking about, should I travel west a little bit? What is my game plan for potential chasing, which I might be doing, Brady?
Whoa!
I know. So if I am, I
Whoa!
know. Yeah.
Hey, if you are, and I, if the threat is significant, you're chasing, I'll go live, and then we'll put you on here, Jen, as the professional. She's a professional meteorologist, and she's a baller storm chaser. So Jen's going to give us a firsthand look at this. But
yeah, I will.
Yeah.
100%. And Brady, I have to go in like 4 minutes, unfortunately. But
we're going to be rapid.
I love all you guys. Okay, good. Yes, I love it.
So Jen, give us before we do wrap the stream, Jen, give us your final thoughts on and I guess we're gonna do final predictions here. We're each gonna do it. Dan, you better be ready too. What do you think? So what do we think the wow? I'm gonna put everyone on the spot here. I just kind of did this. Where do you think this is gonna landfall? And what do you think the strength of this thing is gonna be at landfall?
So I think the strength is going to be 80 miles an hour at landfall. 85. Let's do 80. Can you zoom into the cities?
Yeah. Let me. Oh yeah. Here. Let me pull up the count.
Yeah. I want to see this.
Guys in the chat. Hey, everyone in the chat to give us your predictions as well. Let's see.
Cities. I want to get in there, and so
I got you. Here, I'll show you the cities real quick.
Yeah. So I'm thinking 80. God, do I want to do 85? I just don't know if it's gonna, okay, I'll do 85. Dan, what are you gonna do for wind?
I don't know that it's gonna go that high. I'm thinking maybe like high 70s.
You think?
No, Dan, you gotta pick a number. Dan, you gotta pick 70s. A number, brother. We're putting you to a number.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna do 77.
77.
All right.
You have to do intervals of 5. So 75 or 80. 75.
75.
Okay, 75. Now you're making me. I was gonna go 80, but man. All right, I'm still believing in my 85. Though it's gonna be a stretch. I guess Morgan City. I guess there's no more smaller communities really around there. Zoom out a little bit, really quick, Brady.
Yeah, it's tough. There's not a lot of towns. If I zoom in, there's like, actually, it doesn't even show me those towns. I can pull up Google Maps though.
Yeah, I don't think there's much there.
Let me pull up Google Maps. And while I do that, so my official prediction, I think you know what? I'm gonna go on the strong side. I'm gonna say this thing makes to an 85 mile an hour storm, which is kind of solidly in the Category 1 range. And my what I'm going to do is, so you can take Marsh Island, but there's really not a lot of towns in here, guys. I'm gonna do Morgan City is where I'm going to guess that this thing's going to make landfall.
Yeah, I'm doing Morgan City too.
That's a good
let's
call.
do that. For rainfall totals, I'm guessing the highest could be between like 14 and 18 inches. I'm going high on that, an isolated amount on that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 12 inches on that. So I'm gonna go the low end.
Do it. That's how I won some of the cities in the national forecasting competition in college.
There you go. There you go.
I
Cool.
know.
Cool. Well, Jen, I know you got to run. So any final words for the people? Anything you want to communicate that we haven't, or any final words on Tropical Storm Francine?
Yeah, I just, after Wednesday, I feel like people are like, oh, it's Louisiana. We don't have to worry about it, though. I know local forecasters have it covered. We got it covered at the Weather Channel. But just understand that it is, going to be a long-term event, not just for a specific area, but it's making landfall in Louisiana, impacting significantly Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. It's going to be moving up there, and you can see it's right along the Mississippi River, so there could be significant flooding in other areas too, not just where it made landfall. It could be far removed from there, hundreds of miles. So we just, just take this seriously. Stay away from any flooding. If you have evacuations, heed that. And just be smart. Stay off the roads. Yeah, I agree, Monica. 100%.
Yeah. I know Monica's actually, I consider Monica my second mom. So Monica, thank you for tuning in. But she's got a lot of family in Lafayette. So I think Monica, if they just are tuning in now, tell them to go back and watch the first part of the stream, because this will be a good thing to replay. But Lafayette, is possibly going to get, I think more likely, you're going to get the center of this thing is going to pass over Morgan City, even maybe a little bit further east. Having said that, Lafayette, we're still expecting a lot of rain. You guys are still under a storm surge. So you guys are expecting some pretty significant impacts there. But I think the center of this thing is probably going to pass just to the east of Lafayette as a low-end Category 1 hurricane. So, yeah, Jen, thank you for joining us. Guys, give a lot of love to Jen in the chat. Thank you, Jen. You made this awesome. So thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful night.
Brady, you make it awesome. Dan, you make it awesome. All of you who are watching make it awesome. We do this for you to keep you safe. And Brady, you do an incredible job. So we need to get Brady just an
Jen's the real pro
job. No,
Jen's the real pro here.
Brady, you're incredible. I want to see you on Weather Channel.
I'm in.
You two are super smart.
Get out of here, Dan. Agent Dan. Give a lot of love to Agent Dan as well, guys. Well, thanks, Jen. Thank you for joining.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right, guys. So we are about to wrap up here. So before we wrap up, does anyone have any final questions? Go ahead, put them in the chat, guys. If you are watching this, because there's going to be some people aren't going to watch this live. If you are watching this as recording, go back to the beginning and make sure you watch the beginning parts, because we've got a lot of really good information on Tropical Storm Francine, which is going to be a very impactful storm along the southern coast of Louisiana for towns like Lafayette, New Orleans, Morgan City, and even well inland into Mississippi and Alabama, as we could have a tornadic outbreak that occurs on Wednesday on the eastern side of this thing. So really the eastern side of this particular storm, so in Mississippi, Alabama, even in Tennessee, on portions of Wednesday, Thursday, and even into Friday, we could be looking at this. Look for me to possibly go live one of those days. Wednesday, I won't be live. So, guys, this was kind of my hurricane coverage. Unfortunately, I cannot go live tomorrow for Landfall, but definitely watch Vince Welty. He should be live. He's down there in Louisiana, so he's going to have a firsthand look at this particular storm. He's got a lot of cameras set up, so pretty impactful stream he's going to have there. So make sure you watch him. In the meantime, look out possibly for Thursday or Friday. I may do a live stream if the tornado threat with this thing ramps up, which right now it is looking fairly significant, especially on Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. Dan, any other final thoughts for the people?
Well, I want to say don't get hung up on categories and like slight risk, moderate risk. This is going to drop a lot of rain. There's going to be, life-threatening and deadly storm surge out there. And just remember all the things that could be in the water. I think Brady listed a lot of them. So don't get in the water.
Yep, there's going to be even though you might think there are nuggies in there, there's no nuggies in the water. It's going to be all things that eat nuggies and eat people, like snakes and sewage. I mean, all that stuff you do not want to get in. Even if you're well inland, you do not want to get in any of these waters because there's going to be that is a huge problem after the fact and during as the storm surge waters, as well as the flooding, right? You don't even want to get in flood waters, even if you're well inland, because a lot of times that can mix with dirt and other things, and that can be a real problem here. So, yeah, and there's dinos as well, Carly. So thank you guys for that. Guys, thank you everyone for joining the stream today. It was a great stream. If you are just joining us, there are some people that are. We're going to end. Go back and rewatch it from the beginning, right? You can go back and rewatch this anytime you want on YouTube to give you all the latest information. Guys, I'm going to keep posting updates on Twitter about this particular system. Maybe even I'll have a video update there. But for now, that is going to be it. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you to all of our members. You guys are amazing. Your support, every single one of you guys that is a member of the stream. Your support is greatly appreciated. Every single person watching this stream, you guys are greatly appreciated as well. If you're watching us on Twitter, go on over to our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that anytime we do go live, you get that notification. We've got a lot of great content planned for the future. We do everything from storm chasing to live streaming for events like this. And we also even play Outbreak the game. So there's a lot of great videos there. So thank you guys for joining us. And I hope you guys all stay safe. If you are down in Louisiana, always feel free to DM me, right? If you have any questions about this particular system, you are in danger, or like if you are in a hurricane warning, if you are in a storm surge warning, feel free to ask me questions on Twitter, Discord. Make sure you sign up for that. All the links to and if you want some Stormcat merch, we've also got links to that in our chat as well. So thanks everyone for joining, and please take this seriously. We will see you on the next one. If you are under a hurricane warning or a storm surge warning, or you're being told to evacuate, take it seriously. And, this is not a system to ignore the warnings for, because of rainfall and the storm surge, it's going to be a big problem. Stormcat 5, guys, I will see you on the next one. Love all you. Make sure you tell someone you love them. See you on the next one.
Take care.
My favorite part. We jamming now. You can post the link to the Discord in the chat. Okay, Mama G throws some serious shade on my singing skills. You're not wrong, Mama G. You're not wrong. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night.